What's up? Welcome. Today we are discussing the tier list that everyone's been waiting for. Every time a clock or some sort of time-related mechanic has been used physically in a pinball machine. So I'm referring to games like Twilight Zone, where you have a physical clock in the back of the game, and Safe Cracker, where you have a bunch of lights in the middle of the playfield. Informing you of a timely related thing. Before we get into this list, I'd like to give some honourable mentions to games that I considered but didn't include in this list. I'm talking games like Theatre of Magic, because as far as I could see, there was no kind of physical display of the clock mentioned in the game, as in you're advancing the time by smacking that right orbit, and there's only sound effects and displays on the dot matrix screen there. So honorable mention, did consider it, but not on this list. And I'm not going to include games like Monopoly or Simpsons that have like a DMD, like a tiny little DMD screen sitting on the playfield that displays the time. I feel as though if I included things like that, this list would be just bigger than it needs to be. And just if like a game has a countdown on the screen or on the alphanumeric displays or whatever, not including that because too many games to count. But I'm including games like we'll get into it, and a couple other honorable mentions is Rick and Morty and Total Nuclear Annihilation, because they have it falls kind of into the Monopoly Simpsons kind of just like a mini dedicated screen for times and whatnot. That's just the Rick and Morty and TNA. They have that little display, that little segment display by the flippers that like counts down your ball save. And I was tempted to include it, but not this time. Anyway, should we get into the list? I'm gonna try a speed run this one. I haven't prepared mentally for where everything's gonna go, but I believe I have found nearly all of the physical kind of clocks that I could figure out. And this is a no order. And I haven't prepared. I haven't created this tier list on a different file and thought about it prior. This is all live, live to the air for you guys to enjoy on YouTube. And so we'll start off pretty obscure. I don't even know how I found this game. When you go to Google pinball clock, there's a lot of people that make like real clocks that relate to pinball, and it's pretty hard to find a definitive list of clocks used. However, I somehow found this game. It's an old Sega game, like 60s, 70s Sega. So not Sonic, not Sonic the Hedgehog Sega or 90s Sega pinball, as far as I'm aware. Different company altogether, and they got this game called Crazy Clock. As far as I'm aware, I don't think this ever went into production. Not many photos of it, and no videos of it. I couldn't find a single video of this clock working, but on the back glass here, you can see they've got a clock with one hand that will point between the four kind of main segments on a clock, and it looks like at least the 12 and the 6 light up. I'm not too sure about the 3 or the 9. I respect a back box gimmick, especially ones that are a bit more subtle than later games like NBA and whatnot. When it comes to Sega's Crazy Clock, I think as much as I can respect having a physical hand moving around a clock and how the or at least two of the numbers at least light up. I think with little emphasis on all 12 kind of segments and only having the one handle, we might chuck for some B tier, because I can respect that, especially from an EM having an interactive thing like that in the back. And I'm sure it has something to do with the gameplay, but as I said earlier, there is no info on this game that is easily accessible. And next up, again, no order, no order. We have Pulp Fiction, 2023, 2024. Super recent in the grand scheme of things. And on the right-hand side, we have this stopwatch from the movie. If you know the scene, you know the scene. And it doesn't move. It's static, and it lights up. I can respect that it's lit up. It looks like something these third-party modders would make, especially because of the fact that it lights up. Something for you to buy to put on your game. But this comes standard, and I'm sure it looks like the one from the movie. I don't really remember how that stopwatch looked, but what I do like about this one is that I do know the game, and there's one little mode in the game where it requires you to hit this target that you can see right below the watch, and it advances the time. I don't know, it plays some watch sound effects and gives you some big points, and it's a very hard shot, so it feels really good when you do get it. And I can respect that it's not just there for aesthetics as a little callback to the funny scene in the movie. It's there because it has its place in the game and in the rule set, and isn't just a freebie. I don't know. I quite respect it. However, it is static. However, it does light up. I think it's well integrated into the game and has a purpose for being there. You see a lot of, even though it's not a mod, see a lot of people that create mods that just don't need to be there. So I'm thinking for Pulp Fiction, let me just crop this image a bit better. I'm thinking, maybe I'm just biased because I really do like the game. However, thinking maybe A tier. Maybe A tier for now. I'll be shuffling some stuff around as we go. Yeah, but in terms of just the physical time itself, I don't know. It is 3D sculpted. Can respect that too. It's not just the plastic. Next up, we have Safecracker. Super oddball game. I guess I liked how the Pulp Fiction watch is integrated into the game. It has a reason to be there. Safecracker has a bunch of inserts all on the playfield here. You can see if I zoom in, all the way up to a full hour of time, going every 5 minutes. And they're color-coded, which I think is cool. And they're on the playfield, which I like just because I like pinball. I like little things like that. It's very pinball-focused. And Safecracker is one of the only games that isn't based on your typical 3 or 5 ball gameplay system. And so it's a time-based game, and once you're out of time, the next time you lose the ball, the game's over. So it means you can lose the ball a lot early on. I think you do get penalised for it. And it also means you can have one long ball, and that's all. And there's definitely ways to add time to the game. I think one of the multi-balls is all about just smashing some drops and getting increasing your time back up, so you can have another crack at the safe. I like it. I like inserts a lot. I like how they're color-coded, and I like how they're being smack in the middle. This is big, but it's not again, they're still inserts, so they're still subtle. They still fit in with the game, but it's big. It's color-coded, so you don't, It gives its own presentation, and it works. And once you only got 10 minutes left, not 10 real minutes, 10 safecracker minutes. I could really appreciate how it presents that urgency just through the color coding there. And again, like I'm setting all these rules, but we're kind of just going off of vibes and personal taste here. I'm a sucker for inserts, and I'm thinking Safecracker is S tier, along with how important that knowledge. You need to know how much time you have left in the game at any second, and having it bang in the middle like that, I think is genius. Going S tier on that one. Now, next one is probably the most recent game on this list. It is, who made this? Dutch Pinball. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, I believe, is the correct name. We got Alice in Wonderland. I think J-pop design. I don't know if these are being made. I don't know. I don't know the story with Dutch Pinball. You wouldn't catch me giving them any money. Not with J-pop's name attached to it in this day. However, right above one of the scoops on the right, you've got this stopwatch, pocket watch, thingamabobby, 3D sculpted, and it has a circular display in it. Full on, looks honestly pretty HD in this photo. Huge display, and I imagine not only does it tell the time, but it informs you of maybe what's lit in the scoop. I don't know. Like, again, I don't think this game has really hit the public all too much outside of like maybe certain pinball shows. So I haven't seen much of it online. But I can respect it. I do, as much as I don't think this game looks very good, I think this pocket watch is pretty sick. And I guess what makes this different to things like the television set on the Simpsons Pinball, the Stern one, that is that that's a TV. Sure, it shows it shows the time related to the modes, but this is a pocket watch that it's built into time. It's a clock at the end of the day. Yeah, I think I don't know how it's implemented into the game. It allows for a lot of things to be implemented on it, and I'm sure it just immerses you in that gameplay more, and it's cool. These clocks are just cool, and it's a great sculpt. Like it's a beautiful sculpt. It looks well painted in this photo here. I'm thinking A tier for now. I don't know. I can't put it in S tier because I don't know if they pull it off right in terms of the gameplay. Like there's a lot of potential. I think the mechanics of it and the physical aspect, I think they've pretty much nailed. But I don't know if it feels necessary to the game. Whereas Safecracker, that is necessary and it's well executed in terms of that. And Pulp Fiction, that their little pocket watch is a tiny little thing to the side that relates to the shot directly below it, and it's it works in the context of the game. I don't know if this does in Alice in Wonderland. However, it has the potential to be S tier, and I can respect the screen, especially being a circular screen too. That's cool, and I can respect the sculpt. So we'll go A tier on that one. Next up, we have Williams, 1963, I want to say. Williams beat the clock. Just trying to think. I was literally looking at this game like half an hour ago. I think this isn't a time-based game. I think it's just a display of display of your bonus count potentially. I don't know. Oh, maybe I'm wrong there. However, it's got this moving hand in the back, and it looks like all the numbers light up. Maybe not 6. I'm not sure. I don't know about how it works in the gameplay. I couldn't be bothered looking up the rules. However, I did look at the playfield, and I do rate the bottom third. I'll pull it up for you guys. It's pretty sick. Here we go. Here's a picture of the playfield. Beauty, copy that one on over. Nice. Got this bottom third here. I love a star post being used in the center there. That's sick. And the scissor flipper, baby flipper setup. These 2-inch flippers is sick. and the star posts above them. For a game of this era, this looks freaking awesome. Brutal, but that's just an era, part of its time. Anyway, we're not here to discuss flippers, outlanes, center posts. However, we're here for the time, and Beat the Clock has a clock in the back glass. I think this is similar to Crazy Clock in terms of how I feel about it. I could respect, giving someone a reason to look up at the back glass that isn't just to see the score. I don't know, using the whole game to your advantage, pulling the player in, giving them a bigger experience. I can respect that. I assume this clock handle goes to all 12 segments on the clock. I don't know how it ties into the scoring or the game functionality. I have a feeling there's something between 12 and 6, given the fact that 6 is also highlighted, but highlighted differently to the 12. Maybe there's some rules around it, and this is a good way of how they're presented, that there's different rules based on the 6 or the 12. I'm not sure. I'm thinking B tier. I don't think there's necessarily a bad clock kind of time mechanism in pinball that's physically executed. I think I don't know. I think they're all pretty scucks at the end of the day. Now here we have 1960 Williams game. Let me remember the name of it. I believe it is Magic Clock by Williams. And I did look into the rules of this one. This is so it's 1960. You can only score upwards of, I want to say, 999 points. You can't go past 1,000. And there's lots of switches that only score you 1 point. Doesn't have that false 0. And I think every time you hit a switch like these slingshots here, any switch that awards you 1 point advances the clock. I don't know if games even had bonus in this time. I assumed it was a bonus count, and it's a creative way to show bonus. Yeah, I don't know. Just looking at all the other clocks we've discussed, and as much as I can respect that this is probably the earliest one that I can find with my research skills, I think I'm feeling C tier on this one, purely because it just doesn't feel as interactive as maybe the other clocks. Yeah, we won't dwell on that one. C tier for Magic Clock, 1960 Williams. Here we have Beat the Clock, not the 1963 Williams one. We have is it 1985, 1984? Barely Beat the Clock, and similar to Safecracker, this is one of the only games that is time based, not based on the amount of balls. And so not only are you trying to score for points, but you're trying to keep extending the time. I had a quick look at the rules. Maybe I'm just not a not a clock expert. I can't tell what these time units inserts mean. Does it mean that if you have a full clock of time and then you add more time, it goes into like time units 2, and then it's like, bam, a second clock. It's just like a way for them to like expand the amount of time you can have without drilling more inserts into the playfield. You know, trying to, there's only so many lights on the lamp matrix. I'm not sure. However, similar to Safecracker, I think it's cool. I think either way, this time units is complex, and I like that complexity and depth to the clock there. It's not the prettiest clock. To me, it kind of looks like a baseball. Like just like at a first glance, I think it's a big baseball on the playfield there, the actual playfield artwork. All of the inserts are one single color, whereas Safecracker, you know, has demonstrates the urgency when you're running out of time by making the inserts red. I'm thinking A tier on this one. I can appreciate, similar to Safecracker, how it's important. It's in the middle of the playfield, so you can always see it. And I love inserts. Inserts that do more than just more than just tell you what shots lit. I don't know. I can really appreciate that, and I can appreciate the potential complexity with those 1 and 2 units lights. So I'm thinking A tier, just because I think Safecracker is demonstrated a bit better, and I guess a bit more. I don't know. I think the units, as much as I can appreciate the potential for complexity, it is a bit confusing, as I have demonstrated, without being able to figure it out by just looking at the playfield. Not that you should be able to tell every single intricate of a rule set without looking at the playfield. I don't know. Or with only looking at the playfield. Anyway, we'll move on. Here we have one of the only Stern examples. We've got Rush. I've never come across a premium LE. This clock is only on the premium LE, and it's above the pops. I couldn't tell you how it works in the game. I couldn't tell you much about Rush in terms of the rule set, at least the little details and how complex it can get. But I'm pretty confident that this single hand moves around, and I'm guessing it demonstrates the time left in a mode, because Rush is a very mode-heavy game, which is cool. I can confirm that there is always a timer on the LCD display when there needs to be for modes. So it's a little perk. I can appreciate having a physical demonstration of time, as I'm sure this video shows that I have appreciation for things like that. But I don't know. I think it's also a drum. I'm looking at it now, because I'm pretty sure like these pop bumpers are meant to be kind of like Neil Peart's kind of drum kit. It's all frantic, it's drumming, all that, and I think it might relate to the pops. I don't know. I really don't know Rush, but it's pretty big. Like, this is actually pretty big. Like, I'm pretty confident it's bigger than the Alice in Wonderland one. I can appreciate the handle moving, and I can really appreciate there being, I'm guessing, 12 lights on it that all have their own individual lights. I don't know how it's implemented into the game, and this is just a gripe with Stern as a whole when it comes to their Pro Premium model, kind of sales model, is that anything that's extra for a premium, or anything that they take away for the Pro, they have to think about how can we still give the Pro the same thing, right? And so anything that's extra, like an upper playfield, can often feel tacked on and not necessarily implemented thoroughly with the gameplay. And I have a feeling maybe this clock is just kind of a glorified mod at this point, like a very well integrated one with the handles, moving and stuff in relation to the game. But I don't know how well implemented it is in the game. And this is just from a pro versus premium kind of discussion. Like, I don't know how necessary it is. And you could argue like we're gonna get into Twilight Zone soon, and this is pretty much just like a modern day Twilight Zone clock in that regard, where all it does is just tell you the time, your time left in your modes. But I can appreciate the theme integration if it is the drum kit above the pops. I don't know. I'm a bit stumped on this one. I'm thinking B tier, and I don't want to mark it down just because I'm not a fan of the pro premium sales model and how it affects the design of the games, but I don't know. Something about it feels a bit soulless, I think, is what I can say. I can't, I'm trying to think of just genuine reasons for it, but it's just, I'm just speaking off vibes and personal taste. It feels a bit unnecessary and soulless. And, again, it's just it's an extra feature to sell you a premium game. A little cosmetic. It feels more, I don't know. I'll give up on Rush. Maybe I'll knock it down for confusing me so much. Now here we have Twilight Zone. Practically identical to Rush's clock, if we think about it. It's this 3D sculpted clock, well, 3D sculpted, kind of, on Twilight Zone. This big clock takes up a lot of room, and it has handles that tells you your mode time. And this is, I want to go back to Rush. I'm assuming the main thing it does is tell you how much time you have left in a mode. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe every time you hit a pop bumper, the handle's slowly turning, and once it's done a full rotation, you get a multi-ball. That's actually sick. If that is the case, that is sick. All right, we're not going. Nah, B tier is fine. B tier is fine. I do like the potential to be had with that, and you can do that on the Pro. You just don't have a clock to physically demonstrate it. It's just all internally managed. Anyway, all right. Rush is resolved. Now we're back to Twilight Zone. This is something that Lawler wanted to implement on Funhouse, I believe, and just ran out of time and resources, or something stopped it being used in Funhouse. And then he later picked the idea up again when he had the blank check for Twilight Zone. This is probably the ugliest clock on this list. Or maybe the Sega Crazy Clock is the ugliest. Yeah, okay. I really like the print. I like the print, and again, it's got that, it's got different segmented colors to present urgency. And it tells the time in real life. You set your game up. You got to set the time and date, or you get a credit dot. More on credit dots soon. However, and so when it's in attract mode, you've got the clock telling you the exact time. It's got two handles. I think it's the only clock we've seen on this list that has physical handles and has two physical handles. Most we've seen is one. This thing is pretty massive. There's a massive gear system going on in the back, and there's these ugly ass optos to keep the handles aligned and to keep track of where they are. You got these 4 optos on each side, and they're not pretty. This box isn't the prettiest to begin with. However, I'll tell you what, if you remove the clock on Twilight Zone, it's a very busy game, but there would be a big hole missing, I find. If you didn't have the clock on Twilight Zone, it would feel very incomplete. You'd be like, something's missing. Just can't tell what, if we were in the alternative no clock Twilight Zone universe, So Yeah, I think it's physically implemented well into just the game layout and design. I think it helps balance out the very heavy, like, left side with the upper playfield and gumball machine. Yeah, I'm thinking, I don't know, I'm very conflicted because, as I said with with Rush, like, all it the only thing it does is tell you how long you have left in a mode, and maybe I'm just not playing Twilight Zone correctly. I enjoy the modes. They are very casual modes. I'm not typically trying to like. There's a couple I like to try and maximize the scoring potential on, but for the most part, I'm not trying to like. I'm not worried about them timing out. I'm usually just trying to start another mode just to get through the door, which is fine. I'm not bashing on the rules of Twilight Zone. I think it's a masterclass in rule design, but to have this whole massively engineered and really expensive piece of equipment on the playfield that, like, that is only here to tell you how much time you have left in these modes that you're not necessarily rushing to complete. It would be different if it was a game like, I don't know. It would be different if you had to complete modes in order, like you had to like hit enough shots within the time to have completed a mode, to get closer to a wizard mode. That would be different. Or if there was some sort of like if the jackpots were timed in the main multi-ball and you had to look at the clock and you'd be like, oh, there's only 1 second left, and and the jackpot shot's literally directly under the clock. Then I think this would be ranked higher. But because of how I don't feel, and this is just my experience, please let me know in the comments if you feel like I'm always looking at the clock. I need the clock in Twilight Zone, or I won't be able to do this certain strategy. Then let me know. But I just I just don't look at it, man. And my next gripe is that if you have heard anything about like running a Twilight Zone, the clocks are pretty notorious for breaking. And that's fine, like that's a pretty intricate mech. There's a lot going on in the back there, a lot of gears, heats up a lot in that big plastic box it's in. And what I've seen on location, when you have a clock that's broken, the game treats it as a big enough malfunction, which it kind of is if it's telling you the time, but it treats it as a bigger deal than I would personally, and it gives you a credit dot. And for those that don't know what a credit dot is, it's basically it gives if there's something wrong with your game that the game itself has picked up on, like whether like it realizes a ramp hasn't been made in so many games, it goes, well, that ramp switch is probably broken, and it will leave a little dot, like a full stop at the end of where it says credits 0 dot. And that tells the operator very subtly, like, hey, check check this game. We've got an error message to give you. And so, and so if your clock's broken and you got one out on location and you just don't want to spend the money fixing it because they're not cheap to fix, and it's just not a priority, then you're going to have a permanent credit dot on the game, and that can maybe put off some players that know about the credit dot, and they go, oh, this game's got a credit dot. I don't know if I trust it. I can, put my money in this game. I don't think that's a big deal. My main issue is that it means if you get any other errors in the game, you just never know to check because it's always got a credit dot. So why would you check today when it had a credit dot yesterday, kind of thing? And so it just hides basically this clock, and with how they've done the credit dot can set you up for basically making the credit dot useless. Very, very specific. And so I understand, like, am I critiquing the physicality of the clock and how it's implemented? Not really. I'm more critiquing the programming in that point of view. Yeah, but I'll just have a lot of love for Twilight Zone in those games. But I'm thinking C tier. Bit ugly, breaks down, doesn't have a use, but it is charming. Twilight Zone would feel incomplete without it. The decal is cool, and I can respect the innovation. However, it just, yeah. As I've said before, I think just the cons kind of balance it out. I don't know. C tier, I think, is fine. There's not going to be any E tiers in this list. That's for sure. There's I have a lot of respect for clocks when it comes to pinball. And here we have the final one. I think this is the one that started this list for me when I was trying to think of a something tier list. We have the clock on Funhouse. Very similar to Safecracker and Beat the Clock and was it Magic Clock? It's based out of inserts. You've got this really just pretty like what's the word I'm looking for? You've just got a lot of inserts and it looks real pretty. And this is probably the most detailed, aside from maybe Twilight Zone, the most time-telling clock there is. Like, you've not only got the hours, but you've got the minutes there. Like Twilight Zone had two arms. You can really tell the time on this one. Which I could appreciate. And yeah, this one's probably one of the more unique clocks and how it's integrated into the gameplay. It's not something you really ever look at. I really ever look at how close I am to multi-ball, because this clock, once you advance it enough, it lights your locks, and then every lock is like another, pretty much as you get to midnight, Rudy goes to sleep, and then you can start your multi-ball. So from a storytelling point of view, I can respect this clock a lot. I like how it goes like 11:30, 11:45, midnight. I like that. And I guess from a difficulty point of view, you can set that starting threshold way further back, so it takes a while to build up to 11:15. But basically, every switch in this game awards certain amounts of time. Like, so a ramp might award half an hour, each pop bumper might award 5 minutes. Certain, just from playing the game naturally, the clock advances. Once it gets to 11:30, your locks are lit. So from a storytelling point of view, I think this is pretty damn perfect. You're playing around in the fun house and you don't notice that time goes by. You know what I mean? It happens very naturally. Works well with the story. However, from a gameplay point of view, I'm never looking at how close I am to 11 o'clock or whatever it is. And it happens naturally, right? And I can respect the rules design from that point of view, and it saves you going for other awards in the meantime until your locks are lit. But yeah, that's all it's used for. It's just like a very detailed way of presenting this cool rule set. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit confused on this one as to where to place it. I think it has more going for it than any other kind of game. in that regard in terms of the story-wise. Nothing else really has a story attached to it, and so humans connect with stories. So it's got that real connection element. I would say, I'm looking at all the ones on the list, it's definitely the prettiest. Yeah, we're going S tier. It's got the story, it's got the looks, it's got the intricacy. It says a lot. It's got a lot of variables to be had in it, and I guess that allows for deeper gameplay in that regard. Yeah, I'm thinking S tier. Yeah, and like again, it just Funhouse is just a really good game to begin with, right? Now, let's go over this list and see if there's anything that needs to change. I'm thinking Crazy Clock can go down. Yeah, I think that's fair. There's so many different ways to physically have this kind of clock watch thing in pinball, as demonstrated here. Whereas like Pulp Fiction is very different to Funhouse, and then I don't know, Safecrack is a pretty good example of it too. Yeah, I think I'm pretty stoked with that. This video was only meant to be like 15 minutes long, and I'm looking at the time now, but that's all good. Now, please let me know if there was any clocks I missed, because I'm pretty confident there is one I missed. Like, I'm sure there's an EM or something out there that uses some sort of clock mechanic. And but yeah, please leave any suggestions in the comments of like something you think might go on this list, or something that could have been an honorable mention even. Yeah, and let me know why my takes suck. Let me know why the Twilight Zone clock is the peak in pinball creativity, and I'm just too blind to see it. But otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, because I enjoy going over the super niche stuff. All right, thank you all for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. We've got lots of content on the way for you guys. All right, see you guys in the next video. Bonus content. I was just doing some research for a different video that you'll see soon, and I came across Dyna, which has a clock of sorts in the back box. This is 2 minutes. Just give me 2 minutes to talk about it. I can't remember exactly how it works, but it tells you your dyne time value, which is like the biggest kind of amount of points you can score in one go on the game. You build it up by just naturally playing the game. It's cool. It's not the only interactive thing in the back box. You've got all the people in the diner. They're like 3-dimensional, which is also cool in itself. I'm not too sure if both hands work. I have a feeling only one of the hands on this clock actually works and tells you the time, or gives you a value, right? This is cool. This is unique. This is probably the one that looks the most like a typical clock. Works some well with theme, I guess. Dyne time? Yeah, it's cute. It's cute. I like it. We're going CT. I think, there we go. Man, nearly missed that one. All right. Thank you all for watching. Subscribe, like, and comment. Tell me why this tier list sucks. Thank you.